Resolution to present to the City Council for their vote this evening. This was done extracurricular to the normal process, I realize, and actually on the fly. And this resolution, the motion is to, in essence, update our South Jordan School District feasibility study, which was created in 2007. And the resolution indicates that at the time we used data from 2001 in the assumptions to determine financial outcomes. And whereas the City of South Jordan has changed considerably with its commercial and residential growth to the point that it issues 25% of all building permits in Salt Lake County and has been recognized as the second fastest growing city in the nation by the federal government. And whereas the Jordan School District has proposed a bond of $495 million or $500 million, wherein the financial burden will fall primarily on the residents of South Jordan due to our higher property valuations, roughly at an amount of $40 per month. And whereas the representatives of the Jordan School District disclosed at a City Council meeting on September 17th that general operating tax increases by the Jordan School District will be necessary to assist in providing the costs of administrative staff of these schools which are going to be built. And whereas the representatives of the Jordan School District disclosed that there were no guarantees that even if South Jordan residents bear the bulk of the taxes to pay off the bond, that does not mean that South Jordan will necessarily receive any of the proposed schools on that list, and that another bond could be coming in 5 years, adding on even additional taxes. So, my motion is that we approve this resolution, R 2013, with the remaining part of the numerical to be added by city staff.
You didn't read the therefore part.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. To update the feasibility study. Mr. Nadeau was going to have numbers. Were you able to obtain those as to what the proposed cost would be to update the study?
The question is whether, if you say you want to update the study, the question came up is, when the study was done, obviously the scope was huge. Sandy, the whole district was involved. So we really cannot take that study and update it. You can do another brand new set of study with the new district's boundaries. Or we can get a 30,000 feet of a financial analysis. So which one?
The study that was done at the time, if I may, provided several different scenarios.
Right.
1, South Jordan alone. 2, South Jordan and West Jordan. And what I suggested is South Jordan alone and South Jordan and Riverton.
Right. So we can do that. It will probably cost us about $12,000 to $16,000. But then, the next step after that would be to do a full-fledged analysis, feasibility study within our two cities.
What did that one cost?
That would be, because of the previous study that they have already done, which I think cost us about $33,000, and the template is already there. The assumptions might change a little bit. That might come up to about $28,000-30,000.
In addition to 12 to 16?
Yes, if we do those separately, yes.
You call it
but if we do
disability study?
Feasibility study?
Feasibility study, thank you.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Thanks.
I'm not telling you. Go ahead. Ask the mayor. It was interesting.
Yeah, if you have some questions, please proceed.
Thanks. Is there a way that Chuck, I applaud you on wanting to consider all options. I think we absolutely need to be. My concern, and maybe this is a question for John and Gary, who've been around for a little bit longer, and maybe anyone else on the staff, but is there a way that this can be done without it being seen at the Jordan School District as a big slap in the face, or do you think that it even would be possibly seen that way?
I honestly believe it would be seen that way by the district at this time, as a timing concept, okay? I'll be very, very frank, and I don't mean to badmouth or whatever, but to say right now that South Jordan ought to be looking at having its own district is just going to add more fuel to the separations of the relationships that even do exist out there. At some point in time, okay, let's take a look at it. But right now, I would just discourage this, please.
Would you say maybe even January, like after the bond has gone through,
Yes,
that it would even be better?
I would wait for that, please. I think that, and the reason I say that is not so much because of the political entities that are involved, but because of the residents, the folks who are involved with all of this, the bonding, the voting for the bonding or against the bonding, the concepts associated with children and schools, and those are really hot topics. And the legislature, Senator Osmond is going to be talking about some other school concepts in this coming legislative session. And I would just, if we want to take a look at it, let's do it, but let's don't do it right now. I think that it would just add more dissension among everybody, quite frankly.
And confusion.
Yeah, I think so.
I do agree, though, it is worth looking at. I mean, I'm sincere in saying that I really do applaud you for putting this together.
I appreciate that. I think that no matter when we do it, there's going to be feelings there.
No question.
And so I think we might as well make it known that we need to take a serious look at this. It doesn't mean that we're going to proceed forward with it. It'll probably take, the completion of the study wouldn't even occur probably until I would suspect, till the end of the year. I would suspect they'd want 60 days, whoever we award the contract to do it, would need 60 days even to come back to us with it, with the results. So that would put us beyond the bond election period anyway, which is why I was going ahead and proposing it now.
The publicity would come out now. Just a quick statement, Mr. Short, and that is, I think anything feasible ought to be looked at. I feel like one of the triggering events is this next legislative session. Mr. Gauman mentioned Senator Osmond and his initiatives, some property tax balancing, other ideas that are out there. The other thing that I'd like to see before we voted to spend, $40,000 on this, which is very close to the sum that we spent on the water reuse study, I'd like to understand what we learned from the prior study, what its determinations were, why it is the city didn't act on that in any particular way at that time, and whether or not those conditions persist before authorizing any additional money to be spent to redo that study. So there are a couple of things that, I think the idea of being fiscally sound and with respect to our rapid growth and educating our own students, and those are all great things. So I do applaud that, like Mr. Barnes said, but I certainly wouldn't want to authorize the expenditure of funds right now without personally understanding what the last study showed and why it was we didn't act on it, and make some determination as to how the conditions may be different.
Now can I ask a question?
Mr. Short.
Okay. I guess the question I have is down the road. Let's say if this bond goes through and we decide to split, do we still pay for that? Is that something that has to be put into the study?
Yes, the current law would require that be prorated as part of the obligation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But the money coming from the bond would also be prorated.
Right.
So we would get part of that?
We would.
Okay.
Yeah, the assets and the liabilities are all prorated if there is a split.
All right.
Well, it
Just
sounds
to know-
like we actually have a proposal. If, in fact, we decided not to move forward with this tonight, that it sounds to me that there might be more information that we would ask staff to deliver to us. And that would be to get us the information about what were the findings and determination through that initial study, that feasibility study, so that we could begin digesting that to see if we even have an appetite to move forward.
In fact, I don't know, surely Anna has a copy of the study. We'll copy it and shoot it to you.
I would like the copy of the study, but I think that you probably came to some conclusions
Right.
as well.
And we'll dig out the minutes.
Right, and some of those conclusions, and as Mr. Seataller talked about, has that changed? Is there a demarcation in the assets of the city now that are different? Were those based against, as Mr. Newton said appropriately, were those 2002 assets versus 2013 assets, and how would that demonstrate a different reflection of where we'd go?
Yeah, and I'd really prefer to have some presentation on that by whoever's most knowledgeable within the city and an open discussion, as opposed to just separately reading it and coming to our own conclusions. So we have the benefit of discussion with it.
One of the nice things is Brian and I were both in on those discussions of why we didn't do it.
Why didn't you do it?
Well, the point of not doing it was about education for the children, and it was if we split and made an island of West Jordan and the rest of them, how would Harriman afford their school, and how would Bluffdale? And if it's all about educating the children, it was like
The greater good.
the greater good was there, and so how do you justify that if you take that approach? Because realistically, we had a great plan that would go, and it would probably would have been further ahead by doing it, but you know.
That's important, because quite honestly, we aren't an island. We are part of a community in the southwest corner, and we need
And they
to
were afraid
participate.
that, again, then if West Jordan broke off and South Jordan broke off, then whoever was left out in the cold would, how would
Understand.
they afford the education? So that was part of the big decision, and frankly, we would have been better off.
Okay.
But it
The
was done
study
that way.
also indicated that we would be better off if West Jordan and South Jordan went together
Right.
to form a school district. And West Jordan had no appetite for it then.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I had one more thing.